Patricia Heaton's first big break came in 1992 when she got the lead role in a Fox sitcom called Room for Two. She played a TV producer named Kim, a role that wasn't far from her real life at the time. The show started airing on August 31, 1992, and ran until May 19, 1993, delivering 26 episodes. But despite all her efforts, the ratings never took off. The final episode barely pulled 10.2 million viewers, nowhere near what the network expected. This was the era where shows like Cheers and Home Improvement dominated primetime. The weak ratings and cold reviews hit Patricia hard. She was 35 and had just faced her first major professional rejection. The cancellation came suddenly and left her without a paycheck or direction. Critics didn't hold back either. They called the show unoriginal and said the chemistry felt forced. It was a rough time, but it also became the moment she decided to stop playing it safe. Then, in early 1994, she tried again with Someone Like Me, a sitcom where she played Jane Farmer, a stressed-out mom juggling home and work. The show, loosely based on her life, aired from January to May 1994. Even though it averaged around 10.8 million viewers, the network pulled the plug. Ratings dipped and the pressure behind the scenes grew. The exhausting schedule sent Patricia to therapy for the first time. She was burnt out, confused, and dealing with the emotional toll of another short-lived project. Critics again dismissed it as formulaic. That experience made her question whether she was chasing fame or meaning. In 1995, she joined Women of the House, a spin-off of Designing Women. She played Natalie Hollingsworth. But the show derailed fast. Only 10 episodes aired. Patricia quit mid-season and didn't sugarcoat why. She called the writing sexist drivel in a Variety interview. Back then, actors rarely criticized scripts publicly or walked off shows. Mid-runner exit got both praise and backlash, but it marked a shift. She was done with shallow roles. While dealing with cancellations on screen, she found peace on stage. In 1994, she starred in an off-Broadway production of The Merry Wives of Windsor. It mattered. She stepped in as the lead and even improvised during a weak scene, turning it into one of the play's best moments. Critics noticed. Playbill praised her timing. It wasn't enough to earn a Tony nod, but it earned respect in theater circles. Some said she was snubbed, but Patricia didn't dwell on it. In 1996, she pitched a faith-based show to CBS, a family-friendly series inspired by her Christian values. CBS rejected it, calling it too preachy. That rejection stung deeply. It wasn't just another pass, it felt personal. She believed faith had a place in mainstream entertainment, but the networks disagreed. That moment stayed with her and influenced the projects she later chose. Before all this, in the late 1980s, she met British director David Hunt. They worked together on a stage production in the UK and quietly began dating. Agents warned that relationships made actors look distracted, so they stayed private. They married in 1990 but didn't go public until 1999. Their relationship was quiet but steady, giving Patricia balance amid the chaos of rising fame. Back in 1993, during pilot season for what would become Everybody Loves Raymond, Patricia had her first son, Samuel. She didn't want the news to affect casting, so she told producers she was going on a vacation. This habit of hiding personal milestones became a pattern. It protected her career but cost her emotionally. In 1995, she had her second son, John, right before the Raymond pilot. She was still breastfeeding during the early weeks of filming, sneaking off to pump milk between takes. Years later, she admitted how isolating it felt. Nobody saw the exhaustion. Nobody saw the juggling act. But when Everybody Loves Raymond premiered in September 1996, everything changed. After more than 50 callbacks and competing against 200 actresses, she landed the role of Deborah Barone. She poured her real experiences into the character, especially the pain of losing her mother and raising her siblings. That authenticity made the character resonate. Viewers didn't see an actress, they saw a real woman. Her starting salary was $150,000 per episode, eventually rising to $300,000 as the show exploded in popularity. She became one of the highest-paid actresses on television. Her years hustling in New York taught her how to negotiate and fight for fair pay. Long before David Hunt, she had married Konstantin Yankelou in 1984, a Catholic woman and a Greek Orthodox man. She once joked it was Catholic Armageddon. They divorced in 1987. No kids, different beliefs. The split forced her to rethink what she wanted in a husband. When she married David Hunt in 1990, it was incredibly private. She even gave him an ultimatum in a car before they said, "I do." They kept the wedding quiet to avoid being labeled impulsive. Hollywood judged women harshly, and she didn't want her career jeopardized. When she became pregnant with her third child, Joseph, in 1997, Raymond was still filming. Producers didn't want to adjust the storyline, so they hid her pregnancy. She wore empire waist dresses, stood behind counters, held oversized props in emotional scenes. she dealt with severe morning sickness off stage. During the episode The Letter, she vomited between takes but delivered a powerful performance. In the Thanksgiving episode, giant trays and pots were strategically placed to conceal her belly. Only a few people knew one of them, Brad Garrett. Telling him opened a deeper bond. She later admitted that secrecy combined with grief from her mother's death made her performances even more raw. In 1999, she got her first Emmy nomination. She lost to Helen Hunt but still felt validated. In 2000 and 2001, she won back-to-back Emmys. During that time, she wore tight corsets postpartum, pressured to keep her television silhouette. Behind the scenes, she clashed with writers who made Deborah a nagging wife. She pushed for depth. Most suggestions were ignored, but it sparked her desire to produce and create roles for women that weren't one-dimensional. By the time her fourth son, Daniel, was born in 2001, the series was nearing its end. She suffered postpartum depression but hid it behind smiles and interviews. She kept showing up, kept performing, even when it nearly broke her. After Raymond ended in 2005, she had starred in 210 episodes and reached a net worth of around $12 million. But Hollywood trapped her as the sitcom mom. She auditioned for 30 dramatic roles and was rejected every time. Too warm, too funny, not serious enough. In 2009, she landed Frankie Heck in the Middle. Another mother but messy, exhausted, honest. It mirrored her life. The show ran for 9 years and 215 episodes. She slipped pieces of her sons into the character, but still, she kept her pregnancies secret. Still carried silence like armor. By season 3, she was making $225,000 per episode. In 2014, her salary was slashed due to budget cuts. She tweeted about double standards for working mothers in Hollywood. The message went viral. It caused tension behind the scenes but won her support from fans. From 2015 to 2016, she hosted Patricia Heaton parties on Food Network. It won a Daytime Emmy in 2016. The award symbolized transformation. She'd reinvented herself once again. After The Middle ended in 2018, she leaned into voice acting. No makeup, no lights, just her voice. Characters far from the sitcom mom box. As her kids grew and moved out, the house felt painfully quiet, but voice work gave her freedom. In 2011, she founded Hollywood Etc., fighting anti-Semitism. She also became vocal about conservative causes, especially pro-life issues. It strained friendships, but she didn't back down. Her sitcom Back to You with Kelsey Grammer premiered in 2007 with strong numbers. But the 2007 writers' strike killed its momentum. It ended after 23 episodes. That failure pushed her toward independent and faith-based projects. When the pandemic hit, she let her hair go gray, her rebellion after years of hiding pregnancies, wearing corsets, and shaping herself to fit Hollywood's expectations. Fans embraced it. In Carol's second act, she played Dr. Glenda Sharp and Seasoned. The show lasted 1 season but earned her a SAG nomination. Long before that, in 2005, she became an executive producer on The Engagement Ring, a TNT movie about Catholic healing and family wounds. She later said it helped her confront guilt from her divorce. Through decades of fame, reinvention, pregnancies hidden behind props, postpartum depression hidden behind smiles, and a career built on roles she had to fight for, Patricia Heaton carried more secrets, more resilience, and more quiet strength than any audience ever saw. Patricia Heaton's biggest acting challenge wasn't delivering comedy lines. It was hiding something life-changing from 30 million viewers every week. She used props as shields, wore specific costumes, and even lied to producers about family vacations. The secret she carried during Everybody Loves Raymond was so sensitive that only one co-star knew the truth. Her deception required careful choreography that nearly destroyed her health. What she concealed while America watched her every Monday night will change how you see every episode forever. Patricia Heaton was born on March 4, 1958, in Bay Village, Ohio. She was the fourth of 5 children in a house where Catholic tradition ruled everything from the way they spoke to how they ate, prayed, and even how they argued. Her father, Chuck Heaton, worked as a sports writer for the Plain Dealer, but his pay was never enough to stretch across hospital bills, food, and a home full of kids. Her mother, Patricia Heard, stayed at home, trying to keep order through prayer and quiet strength. Every night, the rosary echoed through the walls, while behind closed doors, arguments about money wore her parents thin. Patricia was only 6 when she first understood how fragile everything around her really was. Bills piled up, tempers flared, and when there wasn't enough food for seconds, she stayed quiet and learned how to carry the weight without breaking. Their house was loud with voices but tight with fear. Her eldest sister, Sharon, chose to become a nun, and suddenly Patricia felt eyes on her to walk that same holy path. But she wasn't sure she wanted to. Her brother Michael, who would grow up to write for the same newspaper as their dad, struggled with health problems that never really let up. He fought hard, but in 2022, at just 66, he died. It hit Patricia like a wave she didn't see coming. stirring up all the old feelings she had buried decades earlier. She had always looked up to him, even when things were hard, even when they weren't talking much. The family stuck close in faith, but the weight of expectations and loss kept them from ever feeling fully whole. By the time she turned 10, Patricia found her first real breath of air inside a school auditorium. On stage, she could forget the cold winters, the cramped bedroom she shared with two sisters, and the way silence fell like a blanket after every argument at home. Her parents didn't stop her from acting, but they didn't encourage it either. Still, she kept going, show after show, performance after performance, because something in her knew this was the one place she could be herself. She wasn't Patricia the daughter, the sister, the Catholic girl who had to be perfect. She was whoever she chose to be, even just for a moment. Then came the day that shattered everything. In 1970, when Patricia was just 12, her mother collapsed from a brain aneurysm and never came home. There was no goodbye, no time to understand, just sudden silence. She had to grow up fast. No one talked about therapy. No one offered help. So she carried her grief in secret, taking care of her younger brother, wiping away his tears while holding back her own. That pain became part of her. It shaped how she looked at the world, how she loved, how she performed. She never forgot what it felt like to lose everything without warning. In the years that followed, she started rebelling quietly. She hid theater scripts under her bed, afraid her father would find them. She snuck out to auditions for community plays. Every time she questioned God for taking her mother, guilt crept in, wrapping itself around her heart. But she couldn't stop. Acting gave her a voice she didn't have at home. It gave her the freedom to ask questions no one wanted to answer. It was risky. It was raw, but it was hers. That defiance turned into fuel. She wasn't trying to run from her past. She was trying to shape something out of it. In 1976, she enrolled at Ohio State University. She majored in theater, commuting from home to save money. Even then, she held on to every dollar like it might disappear. At 19, she directed a student production of Our Town. It wasn't polished, but it was real. People talked about it. Her classmates cried during the final act. Professors remembered her name. That play became her proof. She wasn't just playing at acting anymore. She was building something. She joined Delta Gamma by her senior year, balancing sorority life with part-time jobs and late-night rehearsals. Her time at Ohio State wasn't easy, but it toughened her. She learned how to work through pain, how to turn it into something people couldn't look away from. But not everyone saw her talent. One of her professors told her she was too emotional to be a serious actress. The words nearly broke her. She thought about switching majors, thought about quitting altogether, but she didn't. She picked up night shifts waitressing and used the tips to join improv classes, standing on her feet for hours, then performing late into the night. She taught herself how to stay strong in the face of rejection. She learned how to be funny without breaking. Those nights helped shape the grit that would carry her through the hardest parts of show business. In 1979, she joined a bold reimagining of Hamlet that flipped the script, literally. Women played the male roles. The lines were rewritten, and the play challenged everything people thought they knew about Shakespeare. It was loud, it was radical, and it was hated by some. Students protested. Faculty members called it sacrilegious. But the seats stayed full, and Patricia stood her ground. That play showed her what art could do. It didn't just entertain. It stirred people. It caused arguments. It made people uncomfortable, and she liked that. It gave her the courage to stop playing safe. She graduated in 1980, but her celebration was cut short. Her father remarried almost immediately, and the wounds between them tore open again. The family splintered. Patricia wrote a one-woman show about grief and separation, and it poured out of her like a confession. It was raw and painful and true. She performed it at a small regional theater, and the audience sat in stunned silence at the end. That performance earned her a local drama award and gave her a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, her story had value beyond the pain. Later that year, she packed up and moved to New York City with barely any money in her pocket. She slept on relatives' couches. She lived on ramen and cold sandwiches. Her daily budget was $5. Auditions became a blur. Rejections piled up. She worked as a waitress, then as a magazine copy editor. She smiled through panic attacks and tried not to cry on the subway. Her mother's death still haunted her, and New York's unforgiving pace left no room to process it. She wanted to act, but at times she didn't know if she was even allowed to dream. When she was 22, she landed her first off-Broadway role in Don't Drink the Water, a Woody Allen comedy. It should have been her big break, but things went south fast. The director kept changing her lines. The character stopped making sense, so she walked away. She quit. People called her difficult, but she knew what she was doing. If she let someone else reshape her work now, it would keep happening. That moment defined her. She wasn't just chasing fame. She was building something she could respect. Over 20 auditions passed with nothing but no's. She kept being told she was too funny to be taken seriously. In 1989, she finally booked a tiny role on Alien Nation. She played an informant and got paid $500. It wasn't much, but it meant she could eat without worrying. That small part boxed her into the funny sidekick label, but she took it anyway. The rent had to be paid. Still, She kept fighting for more. That same year, she landed a recurring role as Nancy Krieger on 30s. For 12 episodes between 1989 and 1991, she became a regular face on television. But behind the scenes, it was brutal 16-hour workdays, calls at midnight, eating barely anything. Her eating disorder worsened. She didn't talk about it. She just kept working, even as her body begged for rest. That show helped her climb, but it left her with bruises no one could see. One of the hardest hits came in 1988, right before 30s. She auditioned for the role of Jackie on Roseanne. She gave it everything, but the part went to Laurie Metcalf. Patricia spiraled. She thought about giving up acting for good, thought about moving back to Ohio and becoming a drama teacher. She felt invisible, like she almost had something but watched it slip right through her fingers. That pain stayed with her for a long time. In 1992, she joined the cast of Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Chevy Chase improvised constantly, throwing off the script. Patricia stood up for herself. She asked for rewrites. People called her pushy. Some even wanted her gone, but she refused to let her role be reduced to background noise. The film got mixed reviews, but critics noticed her. She stood out, and that started to change things. That same year, she took a voice role in the animated Beethoven movie. It was a small gig, barely enough to cover rent, but it kept her going. Voice acting became a quiet lifeline, a way to stay afloat between bigger jobs. She leaned into it, took whatever came her way. Every little part was a piece of the bigger picture she was still trying to finish. Back in 1984, she had tried Broadway with The Higher They Fly. It closed in 3 weeks. She ended up $10,000 in debt, took a job as a tour guide, wrote a private memoir about her mother just to stay sane. It was humiliating, but it was also one more lesson in resilience. One more reminder that no matter how many doors shut, she could always find another way in. That no matter how many doors shut, she could always find another way in.